Today I just wanted to make a quick layout, have printed out to run along the side of my layout. And I've cut this paper down to 7.5 by 11.5. These three pictures, which I'm gonna put like right here, are 3 by 4. And I have a chipboard flourish, and then this, and then at the top I'm just gonna do a title with chipboard. First I'm going to lay everything down. Here I'm just using my ATG to glue all the pieces down to a scrap cardstock. I'm doing this just to flatten everything out and give it a little more strength. And here I have some of that scrap cardstock showing, so I just used my craft knife to trim it off. And I want to round 2 of the corners, and I want them to be opposite corners. So I'm going to use this larger corner rounder to round this corner and this corner. It actually takes me a pretty long time to round corners because I have really weak thumbs. I'm just going to adhere this whole thing to my piece of craft cardstock. I'm using my ATG by 3M. It's the best adhesive I found. Looks good. Now I'm going to ink my chipboard. I'm going to be using Colorbox Fluid Chalk Ink Pad in Dark Peony, and I'm going to use a sponge. This is just a makeup sponge. I like using these because it keeps my ink pads from getting chewed up by the chipboard. This makes it easier when I'm inking up stamps. If the ink pad is nice and smooth, it takes the ink better, I find. I'm going to set that aside to dry, and now I'm going to tear. I had a little trouble finding the exact rip, so I tore it a few times. Now I'm just inking the edges with what's left of the ink on that makeup sponge. Next, I'll adhere my pictures. It was a little tricky getting these exactly the way I wanted. In the end, I put a piece of double stick tape down on the paper and stuck the photos to it, and then used the memory book glue dots to make sure all the edges were glued down and the pictures would lay flat. So my pictures are stuck down, and I'm going to put on my title. And I'm going to start with the letter that is in the middle of the title so I can center it on the page. Before I started sticking these down, I should have laid them out in a row along the top so I knew how long they were. If I had done that, I would have known already that they were a little too big to fit in that space, and I could have made adjustments. Okay, I ran out of room with this one, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach it slightly above the C and the O. So for that, I'm going to roll up some glue dots. Foam adhesive is great for giving dimension, but with working with something small like this O, I like to use a rolled up glue dot instead. Alright, time for journaling. I think I'm going to write journaling in an orange marker to bring out more of the orange. I would say at least 80% of my journaling on my layouts is done by hand on the Scenic Route grid paper that you see here. Adding glue dots to my chipboard piece. These are the memory book glue dots. I like them because they're thin. Okay, so I now have my Flourish inked and ready to go, covered in glue dots. So I'm going to put it down. And now I want to add some Heidi Swapp bling along the Flourish just to make it stand out some more. And this is the icy color, which is the light blue. You can't see what I'm doing because it's actually off camera, but I've taken a pair of scissors and I've cut in between each of the individual gemstones on the line of adhesive so that I can place them separately instead of having to fiddle with the long line of them and try and get it to curve exactly the way I want it on that Flourish. It's just a little bit easier to separate them first with a pair of scissors than to try and manipulate the one big piece. And we're finished. It looks perfect and I'm really happy with it. There's a close-up of it, so you can see the whole thing. And there's the Doodlebug glittered letters and the 3 smaller prints and the Flourish from Rusty Pickle that we inked and put the bling and the journaling, and it's finished. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.